Data protection and privacy teams are under more pressure than ever with new laws, AI oversight, data breaches, and the constant expectation to do more with fewer resources.
That's why TrustArc built a modern privacy and data protection management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. It unifies your tools, automates the work that slows you down, and surfaces what matters most right when you need it.
From guided quick actions to our intelligent assistant, Ask Arc, you get credible, contextual answers backed by expert research, not generic AI guesses.
Finally, privacy that works the way privacy pros work.
Learn how TrustArc helps teams move faster with confidence at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.
You're listening to Serious Privacy, powered by TrustArc. Here are your hosts, Dr. Kay Royal and Paul Breitbart.
Movies, fines, the Global Privacy Assembly in Jersey, and a lot more in This Week in Privacy. Oh, well, this week. Actually, it's from 2 weeks ago, but we had some issues. This episode is way later than we intended, for which we apologize. But hey, it's still there. It's a nice conversation between Kay and myself, and we'll also talk a bit about Twitter in Brazil. My name is Paul Breitbart.
And I'm Kay Royal, and welcome to Serious Privacy. Paul and I are having...
Second week that you are recording from your new office?
Second week from my new office. I have nothing set up. It is crazy. I don't have eyes on the wall. I don't have peacocks. I have a chandelier in the box.
Well, you have a microphone, a headset, and a laptop, and that's all you need for podcasting.
That's the most important part, right? That is the most important part. But, okay, here we go. I'm going to deviate from the wording of the question. The question is, what's the weirdest movie you've ever seen? But I'm going to ask the question, what is the movie you hate the most?
There are so many movies I dislike.
Is there a movie that if your friends are like, "Oh, let's do a movie night and go watch this," you'd be like, "No." We'll even turn off the TV if it comes on. Which, no, we don't have a TV set up either.
Probably that would be Lord of the Rings, and don't kill me over it, but
I don't even know who you are anymore.
It's just not I can't relate to it. It's just, I know it's this
Fair
big
enough.
saga and important story, but I've tried a few times.
And sorcerers and monsters
I've tried a few times to watch the first movie. I've tried a few times to watch to read the book, but it just doesn't do it for me.
Wow. Well, I'm going to shock you with mine. I know I will. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I despise
Which
it.
version?
I don't care.
The original one with Gene Wilder or the newer one with Johnny Depp?
I refuse to even watch the commercials with the Johnny Depp one because I hate the other one so much.
Wow.
I can't stand it. But I will tell you, there are two movies that I have walked out of.
And you'll be
I'm going to shoot
in a world of pure imagination.
I'm going to kill them, people. Just wait. Y'all are about to hear a homicide happen over the airwaves. But there are two movies I've actually walked out of. They were so bad. One of them was Joe versus the volcano.
Doesn't ring a bell.
I just got up and walked out. It was when I was a young teenager, I think. And the other one was one of the James Bond movies with, who was it? Timothy Dalton? No. Was that his? Kind of looked like a cheap version of Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, I think is he the one that only did one? No, that's George Lazenby.
He did two, I think. And I got up and walked out of it because they went so over the top with all of the stunts and the amazing things that he could do. I'm like, no, this went from the realm of spy movie to supernatural stuff. I'm not watching this.
So that would be either The Living Daylights or License to Kill.
Was probably License to Kill. And I was excited about him being James Bond because I thought he would make a good one. And then they did Pierce Brosnan, and they did even worse with Pierce Brosnan. They took him so far over the top. It was like this is ridiculous, but at least the movie was good. And I did not like Daniel Craig in the first movie.
You're a Sean Connery girl.
Yeah, or a Roger Moore.
Roger Moore.
But I do like Daniel Craig at it. But the first movie, I'm going, he's not like debonair, suave, all of this stuff. Just everybody who loves him, shush. I am a raving fan of him as James Bond. But in the first movie, I literally had this soundtrack running in my head that he's debonair and suave and charming and everything. Then I'm like, but
he was blonde.
What? This is what he started as, right? He started as this headstrong, brash, I have to learn everything, just beat him up kind of guy in the books, in the actual books.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I found out that Daniel Craig actually went and read the books and studied them as much as he could to try to be as true to the character as he could. So I wound up going, you know what?
I think he had a good run.
James Bond, right? He made
a
good one.
run, especially the later ones. I mean, yeah, the Skyfall was just amazing.
Oh, phenomenal. Absolutely. But all of it was within the realm of belief. There were no astronomically supernatural stunts that nobody on Earth could have done, right?
No, that's true. I mean, the metro carriage coming into the meeting room maybe was a bit too much.
Was a little, but it's just a notch over the line. Just a notch. At that time, you were willing to go, yeah, that could happen. Yeah, we're good. All right. So I do have to apologize because while Paul was out on vacation, I did record an episode with a phenomenal guest, Violet Sullivan, talking about all things insurance related and data and everything there, including the Chevron decision, which has nothing to do with insurance relation, but that's how we pulled the podcast together. And the technology really messed us up. So I am going to get this one out for y'all. Y'all will get 2 this week. Yes, I'm tracking how often we don't have a podcast for y'all. Technology is not our friend right now. And so I will get that out for y'all so you have an extra one. Paul will do me a favor while I go on vacation tomorrow, and we'll pull together the current one for y'all this week earlier than anticipated. And so we'll get that one out. I'll get the other one out as an extra, and then you'll have this one out. And then we still owe y'all a few episodes. But I will say, in thinking about owing people episodes, did you notice, Paul, that the IAPP is going to have a podcast as one of its keynotes?
I did, but it's only people from the New York Times. So what do they know about privacy, right?
Yeah. Just so y'all have the backstory for this, Paul and I
This is hard talk, I think.
Yes, hard talk. It's very popular and we can't ding it. But we had reached out to Trevor to ask him, would he consider letting us do the podcast as a live session at IAPP? Because we've done it for the Global Privacy Assembly. It went really well. And, Trevor's response is, well, I think pretty much everything is full, but I don't even know if we'd entertain something like that, but it kind of sounds like a good idea. Then next thing I know is we see the announcement for the New York Times podcast as one of the keynote speakers. So there you go. If you like it, y'all are welcome. It's not me and Paul, but we can't really knock the New York Times hard. What is it, hard talk?
I think it's hard talk, but we are looking to do something for the summit.
Yeah.
So let's see what that brings.
We are nothing if not creative, y'all. Nothing if not creative.
If need be, we'll record while pouring coffee somewhere at a coffee stand somewhere in this convention hall.
Exactly. And he's going to bring me some more gluten-free
Stroop waffles.
Stroop waffles, yes. I couldn't even say that. Oh my God, this is horrible. Okay.
So talking about travel, I think a lot of people will not read the Jersey Evening Post on a daily basis. Somehow I think that is the case, because it is not the world's leading newspaper. It is the island's leading newspaper, I have to say. And actually today, on the 4th of September, the Jersey Evening Post starts their business section with a big picture of Immaculate Kasait, the Kenyan Data Commissioner, to announce the Global Privacy Assembly coming to Jersey in a couple of weeks. And I know I've mentioned it before, and I'll keep banging on about the Privacy Assembly for the next couple of weeks, because I want people to join us there. I want people to listen to the recordings that we do during the event. but now the program is also out. The first names are announced. Indeed, Immaculate Cascade will be there. Trevor Hughes will be there as one of the speakers. I'm really looking forward to hear Nicholas Badminton, chief futurist at futurist.com, who is also a Jersey local. And I also would like to see, he is not the Jersey local. The Jersey local is Douglas Kruger, who is a columnist, best-selling author, and Hall of Fame speaker. And that would also be interesting. Then we also have Bournemouth University professor of IT, ethics, and digital rights, Andy Phippen, and Dame Wendy Hall, the Regis professor of computer science at the University of Southampton, and also a non-executive director of Digital Jersey. So it's quite a few
lineup.
Names. And it's also not all of the usual suspects. Of course, we also have quite a few of the commissioners who will be speaking, who will be moderating. You will, of course, hear from Elizabeth Denham, who is the incoming chair of the Jersey Data Protection Authority. You will also hear from me, and of course from Paul Vane, who is the information commissioner on the island. And I'm really excited to see this whole program come together. Again, the topic is the power of I. So we will have all the panels
to create
are
some
also
stickers.
Marked. Yes, in orange, because that's
in
the color
orange.
of the
I have to create some stickers. Okay, we can make that happen.
It is the power of I. So we talk about all topics related to I, innovation, individuals, independence, international, intercultural, and indigenous. And there are a few more, but all the topics are linked to one of the 8 I's of the conference.
Oh, I love it. I think it's going to be fabulous. This will be my first time at a Global Privacy Assembly, so I'm really excited about it. I still have to finish booking the last pieces of my trip. Yes, I know. I'm such a procrastinator. It's ridiculous. But I have the trips booked over there, and yes, we've been upgraded to business class, so this would be nice.
Lucky you. Nice
yes.
And comfortable. At least for
paid for the cheap seats, get upgraded. So, but that tells you what kind. Well, actually, I would say that tells you what kind of travel I do, but it doesn't. American now gives upgrade points or percentage points based on how much you spend on your credit card. And everything that we've been doing for the house, I've been putting on the credit card and then paying it and then building it back up again. So I have lots and lots of points on the credit card.
Buy a house, get an upgrade.
They're going to kick me off the credit card program, I'm pretty sure. But okay, so other than the fabulous Global Privacy Assembly that is coming up, what fabulous things do we have going on in privacy?
Well, I've got a few finds for you.
A few? Say it's not so.
Yes, I do. I have a nice one of 450,000 euros. This one is coming from Spain. Although, in fact, it was reduced to 270,000 euros. It was halved because the Spanish law allows for a reduction in the fine if the data controller voluntarily pays and acknowledges responsibility instead of appealing it. So then you can get a discount.
Oh, there's you a carrot versus a stick. We're going to smack you anyway, but we'll smack you less if you own up to it.
Yeah, well, I think
that's
fair. I mean, it also saves the authority a lot of money, right? In not going through appeals. So
and time.
And time as well. So this was for Uniqlo, a Japanese clothes store fashion brand. And one of their employees who left the company at some point said, hey, listen, I need to have access to my payroll information for one of the months that I was still working with you. Can you please send it to me? And the HR department responded and says, yes, sure, we can. Here is a PDF with your information. But included in that was also the information of 446 other people. So the PDF file generated contained a lot more than it should have included. Reason enough for the Spanish DPA to say, hey, this is a violation of the GDPR. Obviously, because you have been processing personal data where you shouldn't have, but also because your data security was not up to standard. Then I have another fine of 100,000 euro. This is the Belgian Data Protection Authority fining a telecoms operator for a 14-month late reply to an access request. The access request was handled by a couple of people, but it was never really responded to. It was also never transferred to the DPO, so nothing really happened with it. And then the data subject obviously filed a complaint with the supervisory authority. It was investigated, and the fine was imposed. we have a fine of 1.3 million euro from the Swedish DPA against the
Ooh.
bank. And this is the bank reporting themselves to the DPA because they found out that they had a Facebook pixel, which is now the Meta pixel, on their website.
For them.
November 2019 and June 2021.
the law says you're supposed
it
to
wasn't-
self-report.
Yeah, but this wasn't properly set up, and they found out. They self-reported, and also they corrected, of course, but they were fined 1.3 million. And then the Dutch DPA, they're back again, 30.5 million euros in fines, plus an additional 5 million in conditional fines for penalty orders and compliance orders to Clearview AI. The Dutch DPA has been investigating, like many other European data protection authorities, including the Italians and the French, and I believe also the Information Commissioner's Office. They've been investigating Clearview AI. They came to the conclusion that also personal data of Dutch people was processed in violation of the law. Clearview does not adequately inform people. They do not respond to access requests because they claim that they don't fall in scope of the GDPR. And they have also not designated a representative for that same reason. And the Dutch DPA doesn't go along with that reasoning and has imposed a fine. Clearview has not appealed the report, which means that the fine is final. Because they have not appealed, they can also not go to court over the fine. But of course, they also refuse to pay. So that is something that we'll need to see. This one is interesting because last week we discussed the Uber case, where there was a lot of discussion, okay, what is a data transfer and does this constitute a transfer and what is the scope of Article 3 in relation to Chapter 5 of the GDPR? In this whole report, the word data transfer doesn't appear. There is no discussion about transfers, even though Clearview AI clearly is a US company. There is discussion about the scope of application of the GDPR with the conclusion, no, it's targeting people or monitoring the behavior of people in the European Union by collecting all of their pictures and generating biographic images of it. So GDPR applies. Not everybody agrees with that reasoning. Not everybody says, yes, but this is indeed targeting people if you scrape their images. So that would have been an interesting legal question. The Dutch DPA, as before, doesn't really elaborate in their report on why they consider this to be monitoring behavior. They write a bit about it, but it is not the full legal analysis that I would have hoped to see. And it will not go to court, so we will not see what will happen there. A few tidbits coming out of this, because the Dutch DPA is really angry at Clearview AI, apparently also because they did not really cooperate during the investigation and keep saying, hey, you have no competence. And basically, so the commissioner actually said in the media yesterday that he is also looking to go after the owners of Clearview AI individually and see whether they can impose personal sanctions on them. So that's an interesting one to see. They will also go after any users of Clearview AI's software here in the Netherlands, if there are any, which still has not been confirmed, but they will try to find out and will go after them. Two questions that for me remain is, one, why did they not impose a processing ban if they are so fed up with this software? And why has none of the other DPAs done that? Because it would not be too difficult technically to make the software completely unavailable from the European Union via IP addresses, DNS connections, and all of that. So a processing ban, I think, would have been in order if this is such a clear violation, but maybe the violation is not that clear. I don't know. The other one is that I'm curious to see if the Dutch DPA will ask the Federal Trade Commission to step in. There is a memorandum of understanding between the two also for enforcement matters. So the Dutch DPA can refer a final enforcement case to the Federal Trade Commission and ask them for support in getting the fine satisfied. Not sure if that will happen, but I would say, correct me if I'm wrong there, I need your American perspective. I would say that this also is a violation of the FTC Act, the way Clearview AI is acting, that it is a deceptive practice, the way they collect their data. Which means that the FTC would have full competence.
Right. And I would say that very much to me. Of course, I don't know what all goes into the considerations for FTC enforcement, and maybe they slow down enforcement in an election year. Nothing else is slowed down in an election year, so I don't know why that would. But to me, it seems like it would qualify, but maybe they take other things into consideration, but it seems to me it would. Let me see if there's anything in here about FTC versus Clearview. Didn't FTC do?
And while you are looking
Clearview?
at that, I'll just do another. I'll do another shout out to Kashmir Hill's book, "Your Face Belongs to Us," which is the backstory of Clearview AI, which was an amazing read.
Yeah. Okay. So the FTC did actually go against Clearview a few years ago. Was it this one, the photo app? And of course, the American Civil Liberties Union filed a lawsuit against Clearview. So was this Clearview photo app? Nope, that was
No, it's
Everall Bomb or something. Okay, but there was something with Clearview and FBI. Okay. Facial recognition startup Clearview AI settled a privacy suit. So I may have to go back and play with our wording with that, but the FTC has actually been looking at Clearview AI. There was a privacy investigation of them back in, I don't know when it started. I think in 2022. No, that was a separate case that they were looking at for Illinois' metrics thing. But this one was,
Let's say ACLU v. Clearview.
Yep. Massive photographic collection of faces, violating privacy rights. And there was a settlement of, I'm looking for how much it is. It just says they reached an agreement in a class action settlement, but that wouldn't have been the FTC. The FTC was, was this not the FTC then? Nope, that was a, oh goodness. So earlier this year, there was a settlement in a class action lawsuit against Clearview AI, but I swear there was something with the FTC. There was a big win with the American Civil Liberties Union. Has there not been anything with the FTC? Okay, more to come.
Right.
I'll have to research on that. I know there's been a class action lawsuit. The ACLU, which may have been the same lawsuit, actually had a lawsuit against them as well. But I thought the FTC had also investigated Clearview AI. So I'll look on that. I'll come back. I'll add some information on that if that's what it is. But if not, I'll clean up my statements.
Yeah, but in any case, I would say this really falls within their competence to investigate. And even if they do not want to do their own investigation, the memorandum of understanding between the Dutch DPA and the Federal Trade Commission would allow the FTC to at least act on behalf of the Netherlands to help collect the fine. So let's see what that will bring. I'm pretty sure that the Clearview AI story is not over yet. And who knows, maybe one of the DPAs one of these days will start to impose a processing ban. There's always hope for Norway because they are eager to do these kind of things.
Yep. Absolutely.
So what else is new on your end of the world?
I don't really have a lot. Is that not crazy? I think we're
no state laws that have suddenly been adopted?
No, we're still waiting on California. I just checked right before we started talking whether or not California had signed it. It's been passed. The AI bill is sitting on Newsom's desk. I think it's been transmitted to him officially. You have that whole thing. It's been passed by both, but it has to be officially transmitted. I think it's been officially transmitted. But funny enough, there is another one that, okay, I'm just going to say what the headline is. California passed a bill to prohibit unauthorized AI replicas of the deceased. So I guess this would be performers and actors, singers who have died, and that AI is not allowed to replicate that or build off of that too. So that one hasn't passed both houses that I know of, but it's another thing for AI. Now, if the AI bill, 1047, I think it is, that's on Governor Newsom's desk, if it actually passes, there's a lot of stories out there about Europe is very interested in that as well. Now, it is on massive AI programs, which we do have a few companies in California that might apply to. And then that would also interest Europe in seeing what the enforcement against that would look like. So, but I don't have any crazy, crazy news here in the United States. Brazil in South America, as you and I think we mentioned last week, have their data transfer mechanism, and they'll start able to enforce on that. It says it is now in effect, and it will oversee and enforce compliance for international data transfers. But organizations have 12 months to implement standard contractual clauses. But the other regulated mechanisms like consent and all are already in force. So we do have a little bit happening in South America. I still haven't heard anything.
Well, I mean, if
big
you
out
talk
of
about
Canada.
Brazil, the biggest news, of course, out of Brazil was that the Supreme Court justice has taken X offline, former Twitter.
Yes.
That was quite a big piece of news. Elon Musk refused to comply with local laws. So one justice said, well, in that case, I will order X to go offline across the country and order all of the internet service provider to block access to X. So you see, it's not that difficult to take some
Apparently
software offline
not.
if you want to. In Brazil, it's possible. So it should be possible in Europe as well. In this case, Alexandre de Moraes, influential Supreme Court judge, has banned X. There is quite a bit of protest, of course, also freedom of speech elements there. But by now, also other justices of the Brazil Supreme Court have said they support the decision made by Moraes. And it's not just that you cannot access X anymore, but if you would try to do it via a VPN, you could receive fines as well.
Right.
And they could become pretty serious.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see Brazil do that. I know we spoke about Chile has put the final pieces on theirs going into enforcement there. And then in Canada, not huge action, but Privacy Commissioner Philippe Dufresne signed an information sharing and enforcement cooperation agreement with the Federal Communications Commission. This is about Canada trying to get a little tougher, especially in telecommunications, which who knows, maybe they plan to ban X as well. Right?
And
Who
then,
knows? Because that's the FCC, not the FTC. So that's all about communications, which the internet would fall underneath that as well. So that gives us I don't know why I'm bothering talking, but this one is with the FCC, not the FTC, which is all about communications. And so that brings in internet communications as well. So, but again, and I hate to say this, we right? Again, yeah. Come on. Not that, oh God, I slammed one door and the other one opened. It's double doors. Pushed one shut, literally the other one wide open. But it distracted them. But the FCC is about communications. That brings in internet as well. So who knows, maybe Canada is looking at enforcing against X as well. Who knows, it might happen. But on the other hand, it might simply be my apologies to Canada, but we've had good stories coming out of Canada about them trying to strengthen their privacy enforcement, and then it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's true. And Bill C-27 is making very, very slow progress.
I mean, backwards and move faster.
We'll see what happens there. In the Middle East, and this is again thanks to Luis Montezuma, who keeps track of everything that happens all around the world. But he found new guidance from the Saudi Data Protection Authority, who has published quite a bit of guidance on data transfers out of Saudi Arabia, including the standard contractual clauses to be used if you want to export data from Saudi to a third country. So those are available now as well. And there is also some case law out of China. China's PIPL lawful basis clarified recent court case on PIPL and cross-border data transfers. But to be honest, I have not read this one yet. This is a case from the Guangzhou Internet Court. And in any case, the data that was illegally transferred should be deleted. And that should be done within 15 days of the judgment. Obviously, the court will give a lot of further information, but the judge has also concluded that if there is a necessity for the performance of a contract between the individual and the data controller or the organization, then a separate consent for the data transfer itself would not be required. So that is pretty much one of the questions that we were struggling with at the time when we were first discussing PIPL and also writing about it. How do these transfer requirements relate to each other? Well, apparently, if there is a necessity, then a contractual necessity, then you do not also need a specific consent from the individual.
Right. One day we're going to have to do a whole show on consent. That's not one that we really tackled, mainly because it seems so simple. If you need consent, you get consent. Consent has to be freely given and fully informed, and it has to be as easy to revoke as it is to give. So it seems like there's not a whole lot to talk about.
It has to be explicit, and it has to be separate, and it has to be well informed, and it has to be unequivocal, and what else? I mean, it needs to have a lot. I think we did talk about consent at some point, but probably
maybe it's time to
update.
Revisit consent. Because that's one of the bigger ones. We've got a lot of privacy professionals out there who are just now joining the profession. They're looking at taking some of the certification tests, which is one of the things you and I have never really talked about, is what value are the certification tests to people, to companies. I mean, companies have to ask for something to validate someone's expertise. And no, passing a test doesn't say that you're an expert, but it does say you know a thing or two.
But at least it says that you know how to do a multiple choice exam.
Right. So, which, yes,
but I consent. We'll do an episode on consent, including all the varieties. Do you consent for processing? Do you consent for transfers? Do you consent for cookies? Do you consent for further processing? Because that's also something that companies somehow seem to forget.
Yes,
look at
and
Meta saying, hey, by the way, all those pictures that you gave us, we're now going to use them to train AI models. No, that's a further processing for which you do not have a legal basis.
Exactly, which is not intrinsically connected to the purpose for which you collected it. And a lot of companies don't realize that if you have data that you've collected for one purpose, and then you're also building your own software, so you're training it on the data you have. And I don't mean AI. I mean just doing normal dev and test, that doing that on that data is a secondary use of purpose. That is secondary use. That's not actually what you collected the data for software dev and test. Now, here in the U.S., we might think that that's a related purpose, and we would go, well, of course you'd use whatever data you have to make sure your software works. Whereas people in other countries would go, no, you didn't collect my data to use it in a test environment or a dev environment or to develop software on. And so maybe that is a whole show in the making.
So yeah, we'll continue talking about that.
It.
For now, no, I mean, we have a lot more to talk about than just mentioning all the things. For now, you need to go pack your bags and edit a few more episodes before you go on leave so that our listeners can actually listen to everything we've been saying these past couple of weeks. And on that happy note, we'll wrap up another episode of Serious Privacy. Join the conversation on LinkedIn. If you like us, please review us in your podcast app or on your favorite podcast platform. You will find Kay on social media as Heart of Privacy, or somewhere in the Western waters out of the Americas in the coming weeks.
So I just want to see the Northern Lights and some whales.
Northern Lights this time of year might be a challenge, but it's not completely impossible. And it is an amazing year for the Northern Lights because we've had them here in my backyard, which is pretty darn far south.
They had them in Arizona. They had them in Mississippi.
So yeah, you may be lucky. Bring a camera, because you see it always best on camera.
There you go. Exactly. They said take a picture even if you're not really sure you see it, because it'll come out better on camera than your naked eye.
Absolutely. And you'll find myself as Zero Paul B. Until next week, goodbye.
Bye, y'all.
That was Serious Privacy.
If you're a data protection or privacy professional, you already know the pressure. Non-stop regulatory change, AI oversight, internal demands, and the expectation to somehow stay ahead of it all. And the old patchwork of tools just isn't cutting it anymore.
No, That's why TrustArc created a modern privacy management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. The TrustArc platform brings your workflows, evidence, research, tasks, and applications all together in one unified and intelligent workspace so you don't waste time digging, clicking, or context switching.
With Ask Arc, your privacy assistant, you can ask plain language questions about laws, jurisdictions, or even your own program data and get credible, cited answers based on NIMBY research and more than 1,000 global laws. It's explainable, transparent, and purpose-built for data protection and privacy.
So if you need to add a vendor, create a cookie banner, or start an assessment, quick actions take formally complex tasks, turn them into bite-sized guided workflows to save you time.
It's a platform that thinks like you, works like you, and helps you move faster with confidence, whether you're a seasoned DPO or you're just getting started.
See how modern privacy gets done. Explore Arc at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.